Fantasy Football League isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
He has that face that you want to punch.
I don't know what it is. I just want to slap him.
Every time I see a troll, I just want to kick it.
1, 2, 3.
Sick. What if the Cardinals drafted Rashad Penny and they had the Penny brothers?
You rub 2 pennies together, make a nickel.
By the way, you guys remember when I had the entire Tampa Bay running back backfield on my roster? And most of those times, you're in and out of there in 5 minutes. So, I could take it for 5 minutes.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm Travis Sutton. I'm here with the boys James Up and Jay Up.
What's up, guys?
Whoop, whoop. Two brothers and a random guy. We're here to do an episode. We're going to talk about the NFL draft that just happened. We got together Thursday night for the first round and had a few drinks.
It was not disappointing.
Played a few games.
More than a few drinks.
Golden Knights game was on at the same time, 7-0, I believe.
We used the whole Vegas gambling scenario because there was a ton of gambling going on the whole entire draft.
Anybody make money?
At one point, I was down like $12 and I made a huge comeback, and I think I ended up losing $2 the entire night. But I got the entertainment of 4.5 hours of gambling and the highs and the lows for $2 basically. But no, I definitely didn't come out ahead.
Yeah, I was about $4 ahead.
Oh, were you?
By the end of the night, I was $4 ahead. Yeah, I won a couple of good pots that were like $8 or $9 each, and so it kind of bumped me back up.
It was carryovers. When no one picked the right position, it carried over, and then you could double your money. That's when you made the money.
So Travis, it was your idea. So why don't you kind of tell everybody like what your idea was? It was actually a great idea. And if you've never done a draft game,
it worked.
You got to do this.
It worked out. It was just kind of an idea. I know when we get together to play poker, when you either get knocked out of the tournament or in between, like there's a little table and we shoot some dice. So it reminds me of kind of shooting dice, playing craps a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You throw in $1 at a time, take your go at it, and see how you do. So basically, offensive skill position players, there was a piece of paper or a name tag kind of on the table. And if that's the guy that you thought, like if it was the number 1 pick, it was Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen or whoever everybody was picking with, you kind of put your name on the back of that paper, you put your money in the jar, and everybody who got the pick right, so if you were on Baker Mayfield, like Baker Mayfield, it was me and one other guy, Tony in our group, who were on Baker Mayfield. So everybody that put in the money, me and Tony got to split that money because we were right. When it came to defensive players, it was more just kind of position. Didn't have to pick the actual player, but offensive skill players, you had to actually pick the specific player.
But even just picking the position, it was tough because you're like, okay, this team comes up, and then you're trying to put your money down, and you're trying to listen to the commentators, and you're trying to listen to all this other stuff that's going on, and it's like, oh, the team they need quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line. So you're like, you would think it'd be easy just to pick the position. It was not. It was very, very difficult, I thought.
And there were some rounds where everybody was on the pick, and it was split, 10 ways.
Yeah, you got $1
because
back.
everybody knew who the guy was going to be, and so it's like, okay, when they started trading up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
But we were also in between that, which made it even harder. Was we agreed that we would take a shot of alcohol every time there was a trade in the first round, and I figured, okay, I'm like, I can do 2 or 3 shots. Like that's not going to be a big deal. It ended up being 7 trades in the first round, which I can't remember a draft that I seen that had that many trades in the first round. But yeah, it was rough, and so we had all that. Then we recorded a podcast after that, so it was interesting with the beers and the shots and then the gambling. It felt like
more beer.
That 5 hours went by in like an hour. I remember looking down, like, oh my god, it's 9:30, and it just flew right by.
I felt like
perfect.
I felt like the Golden Knights game started at 7 p.m. our time, and the draft started at 5 p.m. our time, and I felt like the Golden Knights game was like over, and I was like, how is it already 10 o'clock? Like I didn't even realize how fast it flew by.
It was fun, but I want to. This is an idea that I have right before we play here. Is that I would like to do like an Airbnb one time for the weekend. Like let's say next draft is there, and we do like all the guys in our league, and we go out to an Airbnb, rent a house somewhere, and spend the weekend of just Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the first like 3 rounds, and get together and watch the draft. We can podcast and do all the stuff from like a live, outside the studio type of thing, and do like a 2-day thing where we play games, do whatever, and gamble, and everyone kind of hangs out there instead of going to a bar.
Yeah, were you guys in the other game we had going on? We're all degenerates here, so were you guys in the other one too?
Yeah.
Tony's contest?
I was.
So he had a contest too where he kind of said, here's 5 positional players, you pick the team they're going to go to, you get a point for that, and if you can name 3 other offensive players that are going to go and the team, you get more points for that. And it was $20, so there was a winner take all, $200, and one of our friends Jared ended up winning that. So
But I feel like
we had a lot of stuff going on.
Well, just to speak on that, that came down to the very last pick.
Yep.
Yes, it did.
The guy who created the game was gonna win
Mhm.
until his own team, the Philadelphia Eagles,
Traded.
out of their pick, and Baltimore came up, and the other guy had Lamar Jackson
Going to Baltimore.
and he ended up winning. So that was
so
kind
they,
of that was
so they
kind
ended
of
up,
funny.
yeah, ended up splitting. His own team kind of burned him.
That was $200 though. That
But
was
if
pretty
you
good
miss
buy.
if you missed the very first guy, which was Mayfield, it kind of was very hard to come back from.
Well, I got Mayfield, and it was
Didn't
very hard
matter.
to come back because after
But
that,
it puts in perspective, like when like the Todd McShays and the Mel Kipers and all them, they give their mock draft, then mock draft 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and it's literally it's up in the air. It's so like hard to pin down a team at what position or player that they're gonna take. That I mean, anybody's guess is as good as the next person is what it feels like. You never know what these teams are gonna do, and it also depends on who goes right before them and who's left. So you never know. If you get one or two wrong in the first couple of picks, it throws everything askew for the rest of the draft.
Well, I personally can't wait because 2020 is the year the Raiders are coming here to town in
Mhm.
Vegas, and Vegas is actually in the running to get
Yeah.
the 2020 draft. So
That would
they'll
be-
have the stadium built by then. That's where the draft will probably be,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't wait. If we get the 2020 draft here in Vegas, we have to go. We have to go. We have to do some live podcasts out there. We'll play some games out there. I don't care. We'll figure out a way to do something out there because that's going to be an extravaganza.
I agree. So you want to move into the actual NFL draft?
Let's do a little recap. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, let's go round by round. We'll just do
Top what?
positional fantasy relevant guys.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just do fantasy relevant. Obviously, we don't play IDP. There are plenty of IDP leagues out there.
Individual defensive player, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but we're gonna go over.
Let the people know.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna go over
If you
just
don't
the
know, now
offensive.
you know. All right, so let's start with number one on the board. Baker Mayfield.
What do we think? Was it okay? Was
I
anybody
like it.
surprised? I
Surprised.
wasn't surprised like where I was blown away by it. I didn't think it was a bad pick by any means, but at this first pick, I thought it could have been down to three guys. It was Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, or Josh Rosen to me. And then I didn't hear anything about Rosen, so I thought, okay, maybe Josh Allen. Then I kind of narrowed it down between Mayfield and Sam Darnold, and they went Baker Mayfield.
I was surprised. I thought that they were gonna stick with Darnold, to be honest with you, especially because they said they kind of. They fizzled out on Darnold, but really nothing happened in that time. So
I
I was
know,
like,
I-
what fizzled out? Like,
Right.
They weren't interviewing him. They'd already had their visits. Like, what fizzled out on Darnold? I still like the pick. I still like Mayfield going to the Browns, but I really did think Darnold was going to go there. I'm sure that the team that did get Darnold was shocked that he was still there at number
Yeah, I agree.
I almost thought he was going to go at 2. Like,
Mhm.
since he fell, I thought the Giants would have kind of taken him, but
That's what I have my money on with too.
Well, that's
I
what
lost,
they-
I lost that one.
3. That's what the Giants should have done, I
Yeah.
think. And now,
Well, dude, you can't. Okay, look, move
move on to
number
number 2. The
Saquon
Giants
Barkley.
take Saquon Barkley. That's a great talent, and I'm not bashing them. I'm just saying that running backs, and Travis, you've talked about this in the past. You don't take a running back super high because of all the guaranteed money you have to pay them. So now
he's automatically like the 4th highest
Yeah.
paid running
Yes.
back or something like that.
it's like 29 million guaranteed,
Yeah.
and that's why teams don't take running backs so high is because they don't want to give all that guaranteed money to a running back at a position like that.
Well, I
And
mean,
the Giants have to pay Odell Beckham, right? Or he's trying to get a huge contract out of them too. So that's two offensive players that are going to be taking up a gigantic chunk of that salary
It
cap.
looks great because the Giants now have a workhorse running back, which is what they needed, but in the long run, that could come back to bite them, trying to keep Barkley and Odell Beckham.
This is my one negative on that pick is that fantasy wise, you have Saquon Barkley. You're obviously starting him right out of the gates because he's probably going to take over the starting role immediately. But
No.
they have Jonathan Stewart there, and I'll bet you anything, Jonathan Stewart vultures many touchdowns away from Barkley. I don't know, I'm not saying like double digits, but there's going to be times where Barkley rushes for 100 yards and doesn't get a touchdown because on the 1 or 2 yard line, they feed Jonathan Stewart the ball just to get that bigger back in there to kind of hammer through and get a touchdown.
How funny would that be if Stewart hit him
Because
with like
it
8
was-
touchdowns?
And that's
Like,
how Stewart used to be when Mike Tolbert was in Carolina. He would get all the way down to the 1, and they'd yank him, and Tolbert would finish with 2 touchdowns and 2 yards. I just have a feeling that Saquon Barkley's going to get a lot of vulture touchdowns here. So just be prepared to be a little pissed off every once in a while when you get down inside the 5 yard line, and all of a sudden Stewart comes in. That's the only thing I see. Other than that, I love the pick for the Giants, and that moves us to number 3, which is the Jets, who did take Sam Darnold. So Darnold didn't fall very far. I mean, 2 picks.
Right, and I think that's a good landing spot for him, actually. I think he'll do well in New York. They obviously are rebuilding, so
yeah, I don't think it's necessarily I think it's better for the Jets that they got him than
Me
it
too.
is for him to go to the Jets.
Me too.
Right.
But yeah, they're. I don't know really what they're doing, dude. Like, what did they do in the draft? It's a little head scratching to me. They didn't draft any like wide receiver help, so he's coming in and they didn't really do anything. All they have is Crowell. They did address some needs, so this poor guy's gonna have to hopefully sit behind McCown. McCown doesn't.
I think
sit.
that's what's going to happen. I think McCown's going to come out.
You think
McCown's
they're
39.
rebuilding?
I think they're rebuilding.
Think they're
Okay.
contending.
Okay, rebuilding for me would be like they're cutting everyone, or like they're releasing everyone, they're trading everyone. But they just signed Isaiah Crowell at the running back. They signed Terrell Pryor for wide receiver help. They still have Robbie Anderson. They still have Jermaine Kearse, who were there last year. That both did very well for what you think of their name. When I say their name, you think, oh, they're crap. But if you actually look at their numbers, they both had really good seasons for them. I don't know, like how. All they did was add talent. They didn't release anybody. So to me, rebuilding was like Buffalo Bills last season when we thought they were rebuilding, when they started cutting like all their receivers and like their defensive players were getting traded left and right. And you're like, oh damn, they're clearly rebuilding. They're going to trade McCoy, which they didn't. But for the Jets, I mean, all they did was add talent. They signed Bridgewater as a backup quarterback just to get depth. They signed, like I said, Isaiah Crowell. They signed Terrell Pryor. Like they are going out and getting guys. So I wouldn't necessarily say they're rebuilding, but for sure they're not contending to try to get to the playoffs.
Right, and if the Jets were smart, they would sit Darnold for as long as they possibly can. Let the 39-year-old McCown take the reins and let him kind of learn under McCown, and just hold off as long as possible with Darnold. He's only 20 years old. Give him some time. Don't throw him to the fire so fast.
I agree. Who's the next offensive player?
Next
taken?
offensive player was another quarterback at 7. The Bills traded up, like we called.
You did say top 6.
I did say top 6, they went to 7 instead.
The reason why I did find out, I was reading an article about the Denver Broncos at 5 and the Bills at 12 had a deal set in place. The only stipulation was if Chubb, the defensive end, slid down to Denver, the trade was off. And they thought there was no chance in that happening because they had their bank and their money on Cleveland taking him at 4. When Bradley Chubb did not get taken at 4, Denver immediately called Buffalo and basically said, hey, look, we can't do this trade anymore. Chubb's the guy that we wanted. We're going to stay there and stay put. And then immediately the Buffalo Bills had to start panicking to try to trade up to the Colts or 7, which is, what was it, Tampa? And they ended up getting Tampa Bay to trade with them. So they still get their guy. They would have taken him at 5. They would have taken Allen at 5 anyways. So they ended up getting him at 7.
They didn't have
It
a
worked out.
gentleman's agreement.
It worked out. Handshakes don't count in the NFL, I
It's
guess.
probably a plan B. I'm sure they had to back up.
Plan B, nice. All right, so Josh Allen from Wyoming.
Had to go
he
to the
moves
clinic
there.
on that one.
One thing, the one thing I do want to say, because I know you love narratives, and we talked about this off air, so I want to bring it up on air. I just thought this was kind of a funny story. So Josh Allen with his tweets. So he's had the same Twitter account for years. When he was 17, now he's 21. He made a few comments about how hot AJ McCarron's then girlfriend was, Catherine Webb. I'm sure it has something to do with that game that Alabama played on television.
That was when Brent Musburger was like
was
drooling
all
over.
and the camera kept going to her.
Did he say anything untrue?
He didn't say anything untrue.
She is smoking.
She's smoking hot, okay, we all agree that, but now it makes it an awkward position because Josh Allen had one tweet that was like AJ McCarron's girlfriend, and he had the emojis with the bugging eyes, like she's just so hot, and then he did a bunch of greater than signs behind her name. Now he's going to Buffalo, where his main competition is AJ McCarron.
Who now is married to her with a kid.
Right. So Josh Allen comes in, he's going to swoop his job, is he going to try and swoop his woman too, or what's going on?
Have we found out where Hard Knocks is this year?
Oh,
I wish it was Buffalo. Yeah, I think we did. It's not Buffalo.
If they started right on Allen, we're like, we're gonna follow you into the facility for the first time that they meet, face to face
You're gonna meet Catherine Webb and AJ McCarron
together, and their son.
Wouldn't that be funny if she all of a sudden started showing up at the facility like a lot more than she used to?
Wow.
She's like, oh, we're here to watch Daddy throw. Like, no.
In Buffalo,
Yeah.
it's all like freezing cold. He's like, it's Mr. Steal Your Girl is here, and Mr. Steal Your Position.
Yeah, I just thought that was pretty funny. Moving on.
We all do dumb stuff when we're young, but that's that's just so awkward. Like something like that reminded me of the NBA. Something happened as well, where somebody was trashing. I can't remember the guy's name offhand, but he literally was like, he said the team name was like, they are absolute trash. He's like, I could never imagine spending a career in this city with this team and this organization. They end up drafting him 4 years, 3 years or 4 years later. And ends up going to that team. He's like, I have to apologize right at the get-go. And then the other guy was the one that was talking trash about Kobe, saying that he hated Kobe Bryant, that he couldn't imagine being his teammate, and then the Lakers drafted him. I'm like, what? Like, how do you walk in that facility and you're like, hey man, sorry. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
there's it's
I was
awkward.
a kid, man.
It's gonna be
Sorry.
awkward no matter what.
It's
so.
going to be awkward, even though it was only 4 years ago. Even though he was a teenager at the time, it was only 4 years ago. So it's going to be awkward, though.
Same position, same team, competing for the same spot. It's gonna be good. I can't wait to see what happens.
Either. Moving on, number 10, the 10th overall pick. The Cardinals actually traded up to get Josh Rosen, and I love this trade.
The Rosen one.
Mm-hmm.
I like this too. I think
Very
this
cocky. Very cocky.
I think this might be a steal. I think it's confidence.
It seemed like
It does.
douchiness.
It does. I honestly, the narrative for me is giant chip on his shoulder because he thinks he's better than these other guys, and just like kind of Aaron Rodgers had a giant chip when he came out. I'm not comparing the two, but as far as that drive to be good, I think watch out for this kid 'cause he goes to a decent.
I was just gonna.
spot.
I really honestly think that he did land in a great spot. I mean, I really do. I think that, and then they go out and they also got Christian Kirk for him in the draft, so they got a young receiver that's gonna sit there for a little bit, learn behind Larry Fitzgerald. Josh Rosen comes in and he's gonna be behind Sam Bradford, who is a very accurate, very viable quarterback. That's made a lot of money in his career.
He's also made a glass.
Bradford,
Yeah.
like Rosen could possibly end up starting this year because of injury to Bradford or
That's
whatever.
right.
Which might could that backfire though? Because
No.
now so Bradford gets hurt week 6. You shove in Josh Rosen week 7,
Shove him in there.
and then he struggles because he has no kind of he hasn't sat behind anybody to learn the offense and learn the whole thing. I don't want him to get thrusted into a position because he has to and then kind of struggle. And then at that point, is Bradford just completely done? They'll never go back to Bradford?
No, that's the thing. That's why I think he landed in a good spot is because I think that where he's at, he's behind somebody that's not the most durable guy in the world, obviously,
Okay.
Bradford. And I think that it's Bradford's job, especially with what they're paying him.
Is Rosen ready
What they're
right
paying
now?
him. I
Yeah.
think he could.
Oh, really?
I think he could.
Okay.
But if
He's
he
the
does
most-
struggle, then they can go back to Bradford and be like, "Hey, look, man, I don't want you. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna demoralize him with the way he thinks and the way he acts and everything.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
think it's gonna demoralize him.
Okay.
I don't think it will.
I don't know.
So you in his head now, bro?
I
don't think it will.
disagree. I
This
think it
is
will.
the thing. He is the most ready coming out, who can jump right in and kind of hit the ground running. I think if Bradford gets hurt and he comes in and it's just whatever, then yeah, he's just kind of filling in for Bradford when he comes back. But he comes in and lights it up, then yeah, I mean, you probably stick with the kid if they're winning and they're doing.
Yes,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
it's just get some practice in there. But I
Okay.
think that's a good spot for him. He's got good talent around him too.
So the next offensive minded player didn't get taken until the 24th pick, which was DJ Moore, the first receiver off the board, and he went to the Carolina Panthers.
Was this a surprise to anybody?
I thought he would be the first receiver taken. I just didn't know where he was going to go. So to me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. I think that he had a great season last year with Maryland, and it was with a bunch of different quarterbacks, and he still made it happen. I mean, he's not the sexiest pick that's out there. Like, he's not the that guy that you're just like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this guy and what he does on the field. But he's just one of those receivers that just comes in and just does his job and does it very well. Doesn't drop the ball that much. He has a lot of yardage. The touchdowns were there. The receptions were there. So I think that he can fit in with Carolina, especially for what they have there. They have essentially Devin Funchess and Samuels?
Curtis Samuel.
And it's Curtis Samuel, and that's it. Oh, and then they got Torrey Smith that they signed in the offseason. So I think Torrey Smith is a deep threat there. They're going to start Funchess, and I bet you by week 3, DJ Moore will be starting if he already isn't week 1. I think
too.
that's immediate production from him at the rookie.
I
That's
wasn't
what-
shocked at this either because I knew Carolina needed a receiver coming in. For them taking the first receiver, maybe it's a little surprising, but I thought this was the right spot for him to go. I think DJ Moore should have been a first round talent, along with Calvin Ridley, and we thought possibly Sutton as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sutton dropped a little bit, but DJ Moore, you were surprised by it?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess I'm not super high on DJ Moore. I guess, but I mean a lot of people are. It's a wait and see for me. I don't necessarily, excuse me, like the offense he went to. Cam Newton to me is not, the guy that's going to light it up for your receiver necessarily. So yeah, it's a wait and see kind of for me.
Yeah, I think this helps out Cam Newton more than it helps out DJ Moore.
Has Cam Newton really had, though, 2 really good weapons? He's had Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess. He's had Ted Ginn. He's never had a highly touted wide receiver that was supposed to be a solid, you know what I mean? He's never had that high pedigree wide receiver on his team. And I think that if he did have that, he already does well with what he has. He finishes as the top probably 7 quarterback in fantasy every single year as far as stats wise, but a lot of that comes with the running and the touchdowns I get. But I think that if you give him a little bit more talent, now that he has a McCaffrey there, he has a Funchess, he has DJ Moore, they've even drafted a tight end to go behind Olsen. I think the offense is going to do very well this season.
Wasn't Kevin Benjamin was a first round pick?
Yeah. 27th, I think, overall, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
They shipped him right out. I mean, he gained
He had a-
like 35 pounds in the offseason. They're like,
that
damn,
first,
bro.
That first season, like everybody
Right.
was all about it. But it's more of I think as a precision passer, Cam Newton's not.
Correct.
It's like chuck it up. I don't know. I just don't know.
Chuck the deuces.
I don't know.
Next.
First tight end off the board now comes at 25. The Baltimore Ravens take Hayden Hurst.
This was a surprise.
Okay,
this
me
was
too.
surprised he was the first one taken.
I agree. I thought Hayden Hurst would be the third, probably, maybe fourth tight end taken. The Ravens traded to get this pick. So I don't know if they traded. It was a 25th pick. They did make a trade.
They traded
with
back.
Tennessee.
Because they
Correct.
were like at 18.
Right. All right. So they traded back from Tennessee, and then they still got, I guess, a tight end. They needed tight end help for sure, but I didn't like the move that they drafted two tight
16.
ends. But yeah, Hayden Hurst, South Carolina. I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to get used a lot.
Used and abused.
I think he's gonna be the blocking tight end because they drafted another tight end later in the draft. We'll talk about, and I think that's gonna be the guy that gets the receptions. Hayden Hurst will get some receptions, but he's not gonna be the receiving tight end in Baltimore.
I mean, I don't know. I
Draft a guy that early to be a blocking tight end.
Yeah, I think.
What do you see the guy that drafted later?
Yeah, but they could use both of them.
Andrews will not be used as a blocking tight end ever.
Yeah, he's just not good blocking.
Yeah,
But he doesn't have to.
I don't think anybody would ever expect him to be a blocking tight end. But Hayden Hurst being just a blocker, I don't necessarily think that's the case. Especially like James said, I think they've been hurting so long at tight end and
Mhm.
nothing's working out. And
They're like, let's
everybody's-
just do it. Let's just
everybody's
all in on
getting
tight
hurt.
end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they picked up all those receivers in free agency and stuff. So I think they had the ability to just hit tight end.
Every year it seems like two of their three tight ends get hurt for the season. Like the last, as far as I can remember, I'd say last probably 2 to 3 seasons, they've had 2 or 3 tight ends get season-ending injuries and just never come back, and they're struggling to play 39-year-old tight ends.
Do you think
Week
it has,
to week.
You think it has anything to do with this being Ozzie Newsome's last year as GM and he used to play tight end? So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna draft 2 tight ends.
Wow. I don't
That's an
know.
interesting narrative.
Interesting narrative.
He's like, I love tight ends.
And I love baseball, so let me get one that does both.
Who doesn't love tight ends? All right.
I like 2 tight ends.
All right, so second receiver off the board went number 26 to the Atlanta Falcons and Calvin Ridley.
I actually like this. I'm not the highest on Ridley, I think. I think we've all kind of been a little, the value for Ridley for us, I think. I don't want to speak for everybody, but
Please
he's a
don't.
little bit depressed.
It was.
But he is probably the most ready to kind of hit the ground running as far
Yes.
as route running
He's
and
37 years old.
being more polished. Yeah, like he's a little bit older of a rookie, but he's going to a place where they got the type of quarterback who he can thrive with a guy who can run good routes. So I think this is like if he would have went to Carolina, I don't think it would have been as good as going to Atlanta with a quarterback who's going to be more of a good pocket passer.
I like him. I like Calvin Ridley. 6'1", though, 190, and he's obviously going to be the slot guy. And
You got
okay.
Julio over there taken away.
Right, but you have Taylor Gabriel, who was there for 3 seasons, who everyone thought was like, oh, this is going to be perfect for Atlanta. He's going to be the speedster. He's a slot guy. He's this. He's that. Like they're going to use him here and there, and then he just never really happened. And they shipped him out to Chicago.
Yeah.
So
That was
like-
Shanahan though. That was Shanahan that used Gabriel.
Shanahan used them well.
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
He didn't get used after Shanahan left.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying the last year and a half or so.
Sarkisian.
Right.
Yeah.
So now Ridley's there with the new coach
But Ridley's not like Taylor Gabriel.
playing the slot, same position.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't think
Not
they're
the
the same.
same
I don't
player.
think we should compare those 2 guys. If he's a good route runner like that, Ridley can play outside. He doesn't have to play the slot. I think.
But
this-
you're not gonna with Sanu and Julio right away, anyways.
I think nowadays in the NFL things are changing. You got different size guys, different types of guys playing the slot. I could see Sanu playing the slot because he's tough. He can get those little short kind of routes going on. I could see them kind of doing that. Like I could see them moving those guys around. I think they have ability to move some of those guys around.
Okay.
What about the 27th pick of the draft here? Like I think that every one of us
Another
was shocked.
surprise.
No one got this one right on our betting. Rashad Penny to the Seahawks. The
Very
second running back taken.
head scratcher.
And now they traded up, right? From Green Bay.
Yeah, Seattle did. They traded back actually.
From
Seattle
Green-
had the
It
118.
says from Green Bay through New Orleans. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Right away.
They already have 4 or 5 running backs there. None of them can stay healthy. But they had Chris Carson, who did very well when he did play and he was healthy. And he's a bigger back that can be an every down back. Obviously, the name cachet is not there for him, but
And no draft pedigree either with Chris Carson.
right. But you had the CJ Pro sizes. They let go. Thomas Rawls went to the Jets.
Lacey?
Lacey, I think, is gone.
This is a free agent, I think.
So Penny, it's basically Penny,
Mike-
Pro
yeah.
Size, and Carson,
Mike
and
Davis.
Mike Davis. Also another guy that was, I believe, undrafted or 7th round pick, which
Uh,
No, Mike
I
Davis
wanna
was drafted
say
higher.
5th. but
Okay.
It was to San Francisco?
Yes.
Okay. You're
So
right.
Everybody that got in there to play, barring Eddie Lacy and Rawls this year,
J.D. McKissick.
Oh, McKissick is there
Look-
today. How many guys do they have?
Look-
17 running backs there.
they looked good, but they just couldn't stay healthy. That's the problem. So maybe they think this guy can stay healthy. Maybe they think I don't know. I like Penny to an extent, but this, I don't know, man.
Do
they
you
seem
be-
to like him.
Do you believe? Yeah, I was just gonna say. Do you believe that when Pete Carroll and the GM immediately after the pick, within 5 minutes, said that he's easily an every down back, like he's gonna be an every down back? So it's like, is that how they plan on using him, or they think that his talent is an every down back, but not necessarily use him as that
To
right
me,
away?
everyone's seen the tape on Rashad Penny. Everyone knows that he's struggling with the pass protection. So if that's something they can get in camp and fix, or at least try to fix at the very beginning, I think he could be a 3-down back.
He can catch very well, and he plays special teams too.
Them saying that though, I don't look up as so much as coach speak because they drafted him in the first round. So they obviously know what they have, they like what they saw. So them coming out and saying that, to me, I don't really just blow past that. I kind of look at that like they want him to be a 3-down back. If it works out that way, then they look like geniuses. And if it doesn't, then everyone's like, yeah, that's what I kind of figured. Rashad Penny wasn't this.
Okay, so in your rookie rankings, does Rashad Penny, from wherever you had him, you don't have to give me a number, but does he move up because of his landing spot?
I think he moves up, but he is already in the top
Right.
6.
That's what I mean. So does he,
Who does he move?
like, that was my next question. Who does he jump over then? If you had him at 6 to 8 range before, now he goes in the first round and a pretty good landing spot.
A brief synopsis of who's above him. Obviously, Barkley.
Barkley,
Barkley
guys.
guys, I think Chubb's still above him.
So that's 3 already.
And
So
then
now
I
he's
think-
at 4.
And then I think you come to that 4, 5, and 6 spot where it could go Sony Michel, or it could go Ronald Jones, or it could go Rashad Penny now. I think that all it does is bump the receivers down a little bit.
But pre-draft, who was in that area for you?
Sony Michel was number 4 pre-draft. Number 5 was probably
Receiver.
either Penny or Ridley.
Yeah, I think a receiver was probably 5.
And then you also had Sutton up there. Sutton was always in the top 7-ish. And then Rashad Penny was somewhere like James said, the 6 to 8 range. Now I think he's in the
He's a
the
solid
4 to
top
6.
5. Yeah, I think
So
he's
I think
top
he
5 now.
moves up, but he doesn't like skyrocket. He just moves up a spot or two.
But above who? That's the question.
Well, that's what we just
The
said.
receivers, I
The
guess.
receiver-
And
oh,
Sony
just the
Michel.
receivers?
And Sony Michel possibly, right?
Yeah, I think he's in that same tier now. I think it's Michelle, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones are all in that 4 to 6 range.
So you got him kind of after Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Woo.
I have him after Chubb.
Damn. Hype Train City. Who's next? Oh, that brings us to who we just talked about.
Sony Michel.
Sony Michel, pick 31 from the Patriots. Sony Michel, man.
Head scratcher for me. I
Well-
didn't get this one.
Patriots taking a running back in the first round is not a thing that they do. So somebody loves him there.
Well,
Who's making the decisions over there?
well, truth be told, before the draft, we had a conversation, and I was like, doesn't this guy seem like the
Yeah.
quintessential Patriot?
I don't know if that was on air. I think that might even
No,
have been on air. Like on a Facebook Live episode, I think.
Maybe. I know we did it over text and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like he just seems like a Deion Lewis, a James White, like all those guys that they kind of like. It was a very much a head scratcher for me, but when it happened, it was like, okay. I mean, I can see the fit. I could see why they would like him, but that they liked him that much is what was a head
When
scratcher.
I just saw the stat right now, actually. When was the last time the New England Patriots took a running back in the first round? I'll give you the year. You want the year or the player?
What year?
2006.
Corey Dillon.
No.
He came from Cincinnati.
No, he came from Cincinnati.
The initials are LM.
Lawrence Maroney.
Yep. This is a surprise considering the Patriots haven't taken a running back in the first round since Lawrence Maroney in 2006.
Man, Lawrence
Minnesota.
Maroney.
And they have good depth at the position. It makes sense. from the standpoint that Deion Lewis signed with Tennessee, and Michelle's the kind of versatility the offensive coordinator Josh McDaniel values.
You know what's funny about that too is that when they took Maroney, he was actually in a committee in Minnesota with Marion Barber.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a two-man committee in Minnesota in
Marion
college.
the Barbarian.
And now you have Chubb and Michelle, who was a two-man committee in Georgia, and they ended up taking Michelle.
They like committees.
Show me your committees.
Show them to me.
The only issue I see with it, besides obviously the muddled backfield of all these different guys and where he fits in, is his one knock on Michelle was ball security. And we all know how Belichick treats his running backs, just like I treat them. You fumble, you're out. No, if he comes in and he fumbles a couple of times, like, sorry, you better work on that ball security. And if I was Belichick, I would say you're carrying a football around with you right now, everywhere you go until training camp starts.
Once every 54 carries.
School. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's high
Fumble
school.
once
Carry
every
that
54
football.
carries.
That's inexcusable for me. One out of every 54 is not. That's a lot. I mean, some guys go 300 to 400 and don't fumble once. They go entire seasons without doing it. So if you're doing every 54 carries, you got to figure he's going to get probably 150 to 200 carries. That means he's going to fumble almost 4 times. You're penciling him in for four turnovers already. If you're Belichick, you better get that straightened out.
Well, I mean, clearly they're not concerned about it. Like, if it was that big of a concern, then I probably, if he was a fumbler and he was labeled as a fumbler, then he's not a first-round guy. But I think his age plays a factor. I think maybe he's a little more mature. They don't have to wait for a guy to kind of blossom, so to speak. I think he hits the ground running. They're a team that you need to hit the ground running because they're contending every year. So I could see it being awesome, a landing spot. But I can also see it being a headache if you have him in a fantasy team.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's when you're talking
Yeah.
about fantasy. You're not talking about NFL wise. You're talking about fantasy wise here, and it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, can you play him every week? Because I don't think the answer is yes on that. There's not a running back for the New England Patriots that you can play every week. It's like a different guy every week, or they go through these little 3 or 4 game spurts, and you're like, okay, cool, I got the guy, and then all of a sudden the guy just kind of disappears.
Or he fumbles.
Or
James White didn't fumble last year. James White at the beginning of the
I know.
season was getting 12 to 15 points in a PPR league for the first half of the year. He never made a mistake, and then all of a sudden it kind of got away from him, and they went to Rex Burkhead for a couple of games, and then they got away from him and went to Deion Lewis in the season. It's like you just don't know who's going to be the hot hand.
Yeah.
And so that it leaves you with a headache. It's like, yeah, if Michelle has a great game and you happen to play him that week, you look like a genius. But what about all the other weeks where he only gets like 4 or 5 carries and, Burkhead gets 13 or 14 carries?
the old Benjamin Stark.
So it's like, I don't. To me, it's a bad situation from a fantasy
Okay.
perspective. From an NFL, it's
Is that Game of
it's
Thrones
it may
reference?
be good.
Oh, okay.
Yes, cold hands.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Okay, 32.
GOT heads out there.
Last pick of the first round was the Philadelphia Eagles, who ended up Ravens traded to get up to the 32nd pick to take Lamar Jackson, quarterback from Louisville. What are your thoughts here? Because
Love it.
okay, my only issue is they just signed Robert Griffin III.
Is that really an issue?
Yeah, because it's the same
Well,
quarterback.
what do you think about Robert Griffin? Like, really?
I think that if he stayed healthy, he could be
At this
Sufficient.
Point, at this point in time.
right the second.
Yes.
Uh,
Are you putting?
Robert Griffin's going to beat out Lamar Jackson for backup. That's my
I'm
call.
not asking you to throw out hot takes.
No, that's not. It's not a hot take.
Yeah,
I think
facts.
it
It's facts.
If Lamar Jackson tears his ACL like Robert Griffin did, I think they're the same guy. Because RG3 was a good quarterback because he had the running aspect. When it went to just being a pocket passer, that's when all of a sudden Robert
They
Griffin
asked him.
just
They
disappeared.
asked him to be that though.
Do you
because
think
of
these
his
guys are
injuries.
like the same kind of player?
100%.
I think Lamar Jackson's accuracy
clones.
is
He's
not
he's-
as good.
Robert Griffin light.
Wow.
I think Lamar Jackson will
Do you-
be okay.
Send all your
Hate mail.
hate mail to the guy over here.
They already did.
No, my thing is that
Your inbox is full.
do you guys maybe forgot when Robert Griffin came out? It was literally he was either going to go number 1 or number 2. It was penciled in as much as it could be with Andrew Luck.
Right.
And they went back and forth on Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin, and you saw what he did in college. It was amazing. It wasn't just running. He had a cannon. He was hitting people deep. He was
Cannon? Who? Wait, we're talking
Robert Griffin.
about Cannon? No.
Yes, he
At
did.
Baylor, you're insane.
He
You
did
go
too.
back and look at the tape, dude. He was throwing all over the field. Please go back and look.
What kind of offense does Baylor run though? Like, come on. That's the kind of that's why their receivers don't do anything when they get to the NFL. It's that type of offense.
Well, it's Baylor. It's
Plus-
not like it's a
plus-
gigantic school like Texas.
That has nothing to do with it. It's
Yes, it does.
no, it doesn't.
Baylor's gonna sign huge recruits over Texas.
It's the style of offense that they're running. Let's not get off on a tangent.
Let's go.
But they're not the same quarterbacks by any means.
Okay. That's fine. So the only thing is that the knock is Joe Flacco is I think he's 34 or 33 years old. Says he's averaged only 6.5 yards per attempt and has an 82 passer rating since winning the Super Bowl a couple years back. That ranks 40th and 36th respectively amongst the 46 passers that qualify with 500 attempts. That's pretty damn bad.
But the problem is that Flacco, with his contract, the way
Right.
it's set up, he is going to be there for at least the 2018 season.
Correct.
I think after this season, they can do something with him.
I didn't know he was
But
this bad until
He will be there this season, obviously barring injury,
Mhm.
and you're not going to pay him all that money to be a backup. So
Well-
Lamar Jackson's going to have to sit for quite a while. Hopefully he learns the system and picks it up pretty quickly because they've put some decent parts around him.
What's quite a while. Did you expect?
1 year, I
I don't
think.
think anybody expected him to come in and
No.
start over Flacco.
No, 1 year.
No, but if he would have went to a different position, a different spot, like Arizona or something like that, like we kind of had him looked at before, he might have
Yeah, for sure.
sat a little bit less
I
time.
think that's part of the reason why I love this is because he doesn't have to come in, and he's probably not going to come in and have to be the guy. He's going to be able to kind of sit. Like I think most quarterbacks should come in and be able to sit for a year. Other than that, I think as soon as they can, they're probably going to get out of Flacco. They're going to get out of that
Mhm.
business.
Yeah, it'll be 2019.
He does have a cannon though.
Mm-hmm.
Not a super accurate one, but he's got a cannon.
Not as strong as Robert Griffin, but yes.
That's a bazooka.
So next is Nick Chubb,
Second round.
second round pick 35 to the Browns. Right after the Browns at 33 took their took their guard Austin Corbett from UNR. So they get help on the offensive line and then immediately take a running back after, which I do like. So far for me, the Browns did very well with Mayfield. They go offensive line and then they go running back. Who I love Nick Chubb. I thought he did great at Georgia. And I was very high on him coming out. I don't love the landing spot because they just signed Carlos Hyde. And I think that Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb are kind of similar backs. And I don't know how that fits in. Obviously, they have to keep Hyde for the first year because of the way his contract's set up. They can get rid of him after this season and not take much of a salary hit at all, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how they use him immediately. Is it going to be a split of some sort and then Duke Johnson's going to stay the passing back and they're going to just rotate the three guys? It's basically like an audition. This whole season, to me,
Duke
in
Johnson.
their backfield's an audition.
Duke Johnson's position is to me is the most solid out of anybody in this group. They have him for one more year, but his position is not changing whatsoever.
Right, he's in a
The knock
contract
on
year,
Chubb,
too.
the knock on Chubb was that he wasn't really a receiving back, and that's why Sony Michel kind of handled that situation. Carlos Hyde also, even though he can catch, no one really views him as a receiving back. They don't really look at him as a third down back, and that was a problem in San Francisco
Mhm.
under two different head coaches. So I apologize ahead of time to all Carlos Hyde owners because this is not going to be a situation that ends up good. He's going to be there for the rest of this season in Cleveland, and he's going to end up going somewhere else.
I agree.
And that's going to be his third team in 3 years, and that's usually when the writing's on the wall. Maybe he'll get some kind of a resurgence, but if you're a dynasty owner on Hyde, my apologies.
Sell. I'm not buying Hyde.
Wow, it's stormy weather for you guys.
Yeah.
Got
Got it
some
all-
hot takes.
Got it all
Travis.
figured out.
I like this landing spot. I think this is good.
Me too.
I'm not concerned about Hyde at all.
Yeah, so you
Right,
feel
that's
the same way.
our point.
I think Chubb can catch.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not a catching back.
Who's to say they don't get rid of Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde at the end of the season and let Nick Chubb be the man and bring in, you know what I mean, the next guy to be a complimentary back?
And that's exactly what I mean. Like, I don't think Duke Johnson changes this year because they still have him under contract. But if they decide not to extend him, I don't think they keep Hyde still. I think they keep Chubb, and then Hyde goes away. And I think they're going to give an extension to Duke Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think it's not even a question whether they keep Chubb. He's a rookie. He's on a rookie
Mhm.
contract. He's not going anywhere.
Right. Hyde is.
Yeah, very well could, or they could keep both. There's a lot of. You had Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray sitting
Yeah.
up in Tennessee. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that they're both there putting in work.
That's true.
Duke Johnson's market value might be just too much for them to keep. I mean,
Yep.
He's a good player, but I think a lot of people would love to have Duke Johnson on their team.
Yeah, eventually they're gonna have to pay Josh Gordon because this year is like $800,000 he's only getting. If he ends up having a big season, now he's due for a big contract too. They just paid Jarvis Landry a big contract as well.
Mhm.
So their offensive players are gonna be due to get some pay bumps for sure.
Some cashola.
Yeah, Sam Bradford.
What about moving on to Tampa Bay taking a running back, which I think they needed dearly.
I did not like Ronald Jones. I don't think any three of us did. We did a bunch of mock drafts together, and Ronald Jones for our rookie draft kept landing between like 9 and 12, like towards the back end of the first round before the draft. NFL draft is over. What do we think about the landing spot?
Number 2.
Tampa Bay. I mean, I love it.
Dude,
I really do.
It's a good spot, but like he still doesn't really change a lot for me. Yeah, he gets a little bump just because the situation. For me, he's still the same guy though. He's still for me a little bit undersized. And if he came in like weighing a decent amount at the combine, but guys put on weight to come to the combine. So when he gets to playing, I can imagine his weight dropping a little bit. He's still that smaller guy. So
He's
I'm not a
5'11",
huge fan. Of
barely over 200 pounds. 5'11", 205. But he's a guy that can catch for sure, and he's
Really?
he's like a Jamal.
He didn't catch?
He's like Jamal
no,
Charles.
No.
Yeah.
I'm tired of hearing that. That's not even true.
Okay.
That's a falsity.
It even says it here on the site.
It says it in a lot of places. A lot of people are
But he's
throwing that out.
more violent. Like his thing
Do
to
you
me
see
is that he's
Do
gonna
you
get
see
hurt.
I can see because when you're looking at like body types and stuff like that and the style, I don't think he's as good as Jamal Charles was. But I mean, I can see the comparison. I can see the comparison. I just don't think he's
feel
as
like
good as Jamal Charles was.
I just feel like Jamal Charles caught a lot of passes.
And I think Jamal Charles is a lot more explosive maybe. When he first came out, like that 2 or 3 year span I think that he had was like he was doing everything and anything. He was like every time he touched the ball, it was.
But he was never a guy that was getting 25 carries a game either.
Right, I don't think Ronald Jones will either.
Right, which is why I think I see the comparisons. He's just not as good as Jamal.
Isn't the knock on him that he didn't really catch anything in college? Like that to me, that's like when I think of Jamal Charles, I think more of a guy that's catching a lot of passes.
Yeah.
And can do both or whatever, but I feel like he's a huge PPR kind of guy.
I think Jones can catch though.
I just don't see. Oof.
To me, he's in the same situation as
But
like
that's
Darius
a-
Geis.
that-
I think
that's a-
Darius Geis can catch as well.
I was just
but they
gonna
didn't use
say.
him as
So
a-
you still have Darius Geis on the board here at pick 38 for Tampa. How do they not go Geis? I know the off-field issue like thing that everyone's saying, but Geis is an immediate come in, can be an every down back, a big banger back that they don't have. They have Peyton Barber,
Bang bang.
they have Charles Sims, and they have who? Jaquez Rogers, 3 smaller type guys, and now Ronald Jones, who's another smaller type guy. How do you not bring in Geis to
Well,
have that?
Peyton Barber's a bigger kind of guy.
Not Geis big, but yeah.
Well,
Okay, maybe. That's just talking off the top of my head.
doesn't have the talent, but definitely has guys.
I don't want people to slam me for that, but I'm pretty sure Geis is bigger.
He probably weighs a little more, yeah. It might be around the same height and all that good stuff. But he is what he is, though. Peyton Barber is what he is. He had the chance. He's not
Right.
going to be the guy. There's a lot of people that love Ronald Jones, so it's a
I'm not one of
to
them.
me. Maybe guys, clearly he fell, and we'll all find out, I'm sure, at some point exactly the reason why that transpired. And he fell all the way to the Washington Redskins at 59 overall. But clearly his talent is upper echelon guy. He should have been taken much higher than 59.
I agree. Next,
What about the third receiver taking off the board? Cortland Sutton.
SMU to the Denver Broncos.
Love this pick. To me, he's very comparable to Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are both
31.
cap casualties
Yeah.
at the end of this season. I
Bang,
think that both of them played the whole season. Obviously, barring injury, Cortland Sutton kind of sits back. I think he'll get in a lot on the 3 receiver sets, but I think that he kind of just takes over that Demaryius Thomas role once Demaryius Thomas leaves, and I think it's going to be after this year. I think Demaryius Thomas will be somewhere else after the end of this year.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I didn't love the landing spot because, like you just said, it reminds me of Demaryius Thomas, and it was almost like I didn't see where he fit in. But if they move, let's say Emmanuel Sanders to the slot, I like it a little bit better. If Cortland Sutton can play the outside and there's a spot there for him, but Case Keenum's there, I don't know. It's not my best landing spot for
I
him.
thought you liked Keenum going to Denver.
I do, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure about Denver's whole offense right now. I don't know. I'm not sold on anybody. And then they end up getting Royce Freeman later as well. It's just a lot of new changing parts there that I'm not sure if it's going to be clicking right away. So Cortland Sutton's a guy that you can put in a taxi squad and kind of see how things shake out. But I do think come next season, Cortland Sutton will be very, very productive in that offense, regardless of what they do with Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders.
Well, they took Emmanuel Sanders, back up later on in the draft with Deshaun Hamilton too. So
Right, that was the other
they
thing that I thought was kind of
basically
weird. Right, they drafted 2 receivers pretty high up.
This,
I mean, Deshaun Hamilton went at 113, which was in the early in the 4th round.
So to me, I think this is a good spot for Sutton to go because I think the knock on him was he's a little raw.
Right.
And he can use a little work. So this would be great. Learn behind Demarius Thomas and some other good receivers in Sanders. It is a little sketchy though because it's going to really depend on Sutton and what he does. I think in training camp and preseason.
He needs to work on his route running. He needs to work. To me, he's like you said, raw is perfect word, but raw. He's very raw with his route running and his ability to to get his hips out. Like everything I've watched on him, like he's always getting coached on the sideline or by somebody of trying to. It's just very raw. It's like the athletic ability is for sure there. Like it's there. They just need to hone in on his skills, running routes and getting to the ball and making the good decisions and making it come like muscle memory where he's not thinking about it, he's just doing it like Calvin Ridley does.
I think it's a good landing spot. I think it's
I think when Demarius Thomas came into the league, it was the same way for him, and Peyton's the one that kind of shaped him up. I hear Cecil Lammey talks a lot about how Peyton Manning used to get into Demarius' ass, and then he got that fire lit. So maybe he can kind of help pass a little bit of that on to, his little cousin coming in, like, hey, bud, I was just like that when I came into the league. The only other thing I see kind of happening that might be one or two things happening. Yeah, maybe Sanders could kind of move to the slot and they could put Sutton out there if he's excelling. Or Deshaun Hamilton coming out, Deshaun Hamilton coming out is a good route runner. So I think he could slide into the slot.
Correct.
Sanders plays on the outside already. He can. So
that's why it's
if he excels a little bit more than Sutton in training camp,
it might take Sutton longer.
Yeah, so it's a wait.
That's why if I'm picking in a rookie draft in the top 7 or 8, I'm probably staying away from Sutton just because I don't know how it's gonna shake out there in Denver.
you're just not gonna have immediate dividends.
For sure.
I wouldn't stay away from him.
Yeah, I wouldn't stay away either. How low would you let him fall?
Back into the 1st round, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, he doesn't make it out of the first.
No way. All right. Speed it up.
Mike Gesicki, Dolphins tight end. I
love it. Sorry.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Love it. My Dolphins
really
haven't had
have-
a tight end ever.
They don't have competition there.
There's no, he's gonna walk right in and be
Spiking
the number 1 tight end.
Spiking it.
He can also be kind of like the way that Evan Ingram was kind of set up for last year with the Giants, where he kind of got pushed into that spot, and then through all the injuries, it kind of had to help him. Right now, you have just a bunch of guys in Miami. You have Devontae Parker, who everyone's still waiting on.
Amendola.
You have Kenny Stills, who's there. You have Amendola. You have
Albert Wilson.
So he could definitely carve out a niche in Miami.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like the landing spot for him.
Are we only going to do the first 2 rounds since this has been almost an hour?
We'll just keep going. I'll let you guys know.
Got it. Here's one that I actually liked quite a bit, and I think you guys did the same thing. Number 43, the Detroit Lions take Kerryon Johnson.
Okay, I don't hate the pick, but again, Darius Geis is still on the board. For me, Darius Geis is more talented, in my opinion, than Kerryon Johnson. And Detroit, again, doesn't have a big back. We've been saying it on the podcast for the last 6 months. It's Abdullah, it's Theo Riddick, it's all these small guys. Now we finally went out and got Blunt, who's a bigger back. And now Kerryon Johnson, to me, is a little bit in the middle there. It's not small, but he's not as big as Blunt. So
he's bigger than Abdullah and
for sure, and Theo Riddick, yeah. So I mean, he's 6 foot, 215.
He's medium.
Right, he's a medium.
You have a small, medium, and large.
Which is exactly what I feel he does. He does everything average. Like he's not a wonderful, catcher. He's not a great inside the tackle runner. He's not explosive. Like you see him and you're like, oh my god, this guy's amazing. It's just he does everything very well and he's consistent. So if you want consistency, that's good. I just fantasy purpose wise, I don't know how they're going to use those guys that they have. Blunt's for sure there for at least this season. Kerryon Johnson now is there, and now you got Riddick and Abdullah. One of those two is going to be released. I'm assuming. How are they going to juggle those 3 guys? I don't know.
I just thought it was interesting because we talked about how a lot of the mock drafts before the draft had Geis going at number 20 overall to Detroit, which we all thought was a pretty good landing spot. And then all that stuff came out about the character issues and all these fake stories about him getting in arguments with the management in Philadelphia, and then they're saying that didn't happen. And then he signs with Lil Wayne's agency.
Mm-hmm.
So all kinds of weird stuff started coming out about him, and then he drops like a rock. And so Detroit ends up passing on him at the 219 also. So they pass on him with their 2 picks. Their first two second-round picks, and they traded up to get Kerryon Johnson. I
don't know.
I like the pick, but yeah, I would have loved to see guys there.
They went offensive line first with the center that hadn't given up a sack. It was a Ragnow.
Ragnow, yeah.
So I like that. that gives us a little bit of extra help in the middle to run between the tackles. So I like that pick, and that should help out the entire backfield there. Okay.
How do you guys feel about Dante Pettis going number 44 overall to the 49ers? Like, this one kind
I
of
thought
shocked
that
me.
was a little high for him, but I mean, obviously if there's been a bit like there's still guys on the board like Christian Kirk that I thought was a little bit better, but they went up and they got their guy, and
Even Anthony Miller, I thought, was going to go ahead of Pettis. In fantasy redrafts and dynasty, this bumps Pettis way up.
Yeah,
Pettis, you're talking Pettis was probably a back end second round, maybe early third round, and now this catapults him into the upper second round within the first 4 picks.
He's got speed. I mean, he's going to be a deep threat type of guy, but they have the Goodwin and the Trent Taylor. They already have Pierre Garcon. Not sure where he really fits in there.
Well, Garcon's 31, and I think
32.
He's 32.
At
He's
the
only
start
under
of the season.
contract for 1 more year. So he could be a guy that kind of slides in and maybe go with the more youth.
Says he's fast enough to stretch the field. Grades out as a sub-package slot receiver who contributes early as a punt returner and potentially develops into effective number 2. So they'll maybe use him in the for punt returns, kick returns, stuff like that. And if you play special teams in the NFL, we all said it before. Even if you're not playing on the offense as a starter and you can fit in special teams, you have a secure spot because they can use you in different positions, and that's what they want in a draft pick that's going this high. So
He'll be battling Trent Taylor for the slot duties,
Right.
but Trent Taylor didn't have as high a pedigree as second round. So.
Right, so he could be a starter pretty quickly.
I don't like it.
All right.
You don't like him in general in that spot, or
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Joe Williams pick.
Mhm.
Like,
it was weird,
I
right?
feel like this pick could just be a complete miss.
Yeah, okay, I kind of feel the same way. I feel like it was just
I
a
agree.
weird pick.
I agree.
There was guys behind him. If they wanted a receiver, there was guys behind him. I thought they could have had a better shot with.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of the very next guy, 47, the Cardinals take Christian Kirk.
I love this pick.
Yeah, Cardinals I think did great again. Cardinals get Josh Rosen to get Christian Kirk. I thought Kirk being the 6th now receiver, I think it was taken, or 5th or 6th receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I mean, I think he comes in, and anybody that's going to come in behind Larry Fitzgerald to kind of show him how to be a professional, hard-working wide receiver.
But he is.
That's where you
already
want him.
He's already
yeah.
that. So
Well,
that's
it can only help him more.
That's what's great about this is Kirk is. That's the story with him the whole way through. This guy's a hard worker. He wants to be good. He does the things you need to do.
So is Larry Fitzgerald playing the slot?
Yes.
Because that's what Christian Kirk plays. So
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that Kirk can do a little bit of the outside, but theoretically, he's a slot receiver.
right.
So I mean,
Labels, just labels.
if he has to learn the outside a little bit, I don't think he's gonna do a whole lot of damage his rookie year, anyways.
What's the primary label for Emmanuel Sanders?
Slot.
Yeah, and he's been playing outside quite a lot.
But
His
see,
whole career.
I think
they're about the same kind of
He-
build.
his last season or two has been all over the place because of the quarterback play in Denver too, Emmanuel Sanders. I think they were trying anything to try to get those receivers the ball, and they didn't have a quarterback that was good enough to get the ball to the outside. Now Case Keenum can, so I think that they're going to be fine finding the mix of how it's going to work and stay put instead of moving them all over the damn field. You know what I mean? Because now you got a quarterback that can actually hit them on the outside.
Yeah, not to get off track, but he was doing that in Pittsburgh too as well. He was
Exactly,
playing
all over. So Christian Kirk going to Arizona, everyone likes that.
I really like Christian Kirk.
Like he can come in and play right now, week 1, and produce.
I'm gonna venture to say he's the number 1 wide receiver on my board.
I liked Christian Kirk before. I thought that he was already should be taken in the top 10 in the drafts. Now, for me, I think that he's in the top 2 of my wide receivers. I won't go as far as to say that he is the clear-cut number 1.
I kind of kept that under wraps for a long time, but it was Sutton and Kirk were always number 1 and number 2 for me.
Well, I'm glad you came out.
And the
Travis is coming out party.
well, I don't have any first round picks, so I'm not too worried about it. And Sutton's landing spot, I think Christian Kirk's more of an immediate impact, so that small little nudge I'll give to Christian Kirk.
Nice.
Let's move on to the next guy. At 49, the Eagles came up and sniped the Cowboys. One pick
Whoa.
ahead of them to
Snipes.
take Dallas Goedert, tight end from South Dakota State,
Love this move.
who I thought was probably the best tight end. I thought he was above Hayden Hurst myself.
Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we always talk about tight ends having to sit for a few years, and it takes them usually 3 years to kind of catch on. So obviously that's what they kind of had in mind. Would they already have Zach Ertz, who is an All-Pro? So obviously Dallas Goedert's going to learn from somebody that's really good. That's what Ertz had to do when he came into the league. He actually was playing behind Brent Selleck
Right.
for a little while, and so I like this pick long term, but immediate term I don't like it as much.
I think fantasy-wise, you're not going to be able to depend on him for sure,
Right.
barring an injury.
Correct.
Taxi squad for
But
sure.
I do think he's going to flash a little bit. I think they're gonna use him the way Philadelphia is outside the box, and using like he might even throw a touchdown. They're going to do crazy stuff, and he's an athlete. I like
Maybe
this
they'll
pick.
do some kind of formation that's illegal and have him throw a touchdown, like they did in the Super Bowl.
Maybe.
Was that a veiled jab?
Never for him.
That's just the truth.
No, never from him. It's never a jab. Next, we got 6 minutes or so to get through the rest of this round.
Yeah, we got Anthony Miller going next, 51 to the Bears. Have they just not loaded up on receiver this year? I feel like they've loaded up and they've done a better job at loading up than Baltimore did, because the Ravens came out and said they were going to rehaul their entire, wide receiving core, and they did with just a bunch of guys, in my opinion. But I think the Bears actually went out and they did a better job at loading up.
You know who should have took this guy is the team right before for the Bears, the Cowboys. Like they needed to add some pass catchers, and I think Anthony Miller would have been good in Dallas. But yeah, the Bears are loading up on receivers, man. They've been hit by injuries, so I think they're going to be able to withstand something like that if it happens again this year.
I like Miller, but everything I've read is talks about like he doesn't catch the ball clean. And in college, I guess you can kind of get away with that. But when you have cornerback play that's in the NFL and you're not catching the ball clean, you're kind of hitting around or bobbling it, that makes for a lot of drop passes, a lot of strip balls. And that is something that I think he needs to work on. He's 5'11", 201 pounds. So, I mean, I don't know how big his hands are, but it says that he flashes the ability to make difficult catches. He bobbles and drops passes as he should field cleanly. Ball security is a concern. He's on the smaller side. So
I
it's
think that that's something he'll learn, though. And I think that by going to the Bears, he actually has time to do that. He doesn't have to come in and start right away. He doesn't
Right.
have to.
Right.
He's somebody you're going to throw on your taxi squad in a draft. In a redraft league, I probably wouldn't touch Anthony Miller.
right.
Are you talking dynasty? You can take this guy with confidence and put him on your taxi squad, and I would be willing to give him the year or two that you have to kind of wait and see how he develops.
Like he can beat out Taylor Gabriel. He can beat out who's the other one? It's Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, and who's the third guy they have there?
Who's the one they just signed? I know they signed Trey Burton at tight end, but they signed somebody else because they let Cameron Meredith go.
Right. So
It'll come to us later.
whoever that is, he needs to beat out Taylor Gabriel, which is not that hard to do in my opinion. There.
Right.
Next,
Let's move on to Big Darius Guice. Drops all the way to number 59 to the Washington Redskins.
finally, huh?
Finally, the slide has ended.
5'11", 225. I mean, the only thing that I see that he doesn't do very, very well is catch. He can catch, but in this spot, he doesn't need to. They have Chris Thompson. I think their backfield now is Darius Guice as the first and second down back. Chris Thompson's a receiving back. They still have Samaje Perine there that didn't get much of a chance because he got hurt. Rob Kelly's there, same thing, he kind of got hurt. Rob Kelly's the odd man out there for me. I think they stick with the three guys, the Thompson, the Guice, and Samaje Perine. But Guice to me is going to be the week one. They're going to be so excited to give this dude the ball and see what he can do between the tackles, and they haven't really had that. They haven't had that guy that is a big bruising back. Samaje Perine was supposed to be that, but he got hurt.
At the NFC East
I know.
is loaded at running back now.
Yeah.
Like you're adding Saquon Barkley to the Giants. You already have Zeke in Dallas, and now you add Darius Guice to Washington. They're loaded.
Yeah, I love this pick. They got lucky that he slid in the draft, and I think it came to a point where, how far do you let a guy pass before you have to take him? And I think I'm not as high on a lot of other people on Chris Thompson. I think he's very good at what he does, but I think he was thrust into a bigger role.
Mhm. But he did well.
But he's getting more credit than I think he should be. I don't think he's going to have as big of a role as the community kind of feels, because he's getting drafted in places that I wouldn't touch him.
Right, in dynasty startups,
I
he's
agree.
going.
I agree with that
Even in
100%.
redraft, he will.
Mhm.
I think Darius Guice ran wide receiver drills just to show he can catch, and I think he's going to have that ability to be in there the majority of the time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really like
I
it.
agree. Media production for sure.
I like it too. Moving on to the next guy, number 60 overall. The Pittsburgh Steelers take James Washington from Oklahoma State. And you kind of talked about this off air, and I know we won't get to him in this exact episode, but Pittsburgh took Mason Rudolph to be the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger, who happened to be James Washington's college teammate.
Oklahoma State hookup. So if Roethlisberger does play that 1 or 2 more seasons, this is great by Pittsburgh. You get Mason Rudolph can sit behind him for a year or two. At the most, it's going to be 2 years. You're not going to see Roethlisberger play another 6 years like an Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type of thing. He's going to get 2 years behind Ben Roethlisberger, which is going to be awesome for him. And then on top of that, he gets a wide receiver that he's already comfortable with, that he's played multiple seasons with at Oklahoma State. So I think that when Roethlisberger does leave, I think that Pittsburgh is in good shape. I was a little worried about it because I own Antonio Brown, and in another league I had Le'Veon Bell, and I was like, man, Roethlisberger retires, like this offense is going to take a hit. I feel very comfortable with Mason Rudolph as the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger moving forward.
And if Washington doesn't start right away, and they run a lot of Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, they're gonna have Washington on the second team with Mason Rudolph.
Like, you
who's
got-
gonna get more practice.
You got
together.
James Washington is going to be able to learn from Antonio Brown, and then you have Mason Rudolph's going to learn behind Ben Roethlisberger. Like, these two guys, to me, are can't miss guys in the future.
Pittsburgh does a great job, Travis. You said Pittsburgh does a great job with their receivers and finding those gems.
Yep.
So, and they've done it for years and years and years. Even guys that have left in free agency,
Mhm.
they seem to be able to find these guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Love the spot.
I love it too. I think he's able to get in and make an impact first year.
Let's wrap up the second round. This is the last offensive player taken in the second round. Number 61 overall, Jacksonville Jaguars take DJ Chark from
Hate
LSU.
it. I hate it. I came in. I just want to wrap it up.
The
I hate
reason
it.
I don't like it as much is because I feel like Jacksonville has like depth at receiver. Like now it's like they have just a bunch of guys again.
He's 6'3", 200 pounds, speedster. Cool. He ran a 4.3 40.
But now you have
I don't-
Chark, you have Westbrook, you have Cole, you have Marquise Lee. They went out and got Alan Lazard and signed him as an undrafted free agent. So now it's like you have just this logjam at receiver now.
I like it. Let me add some clarity to everybody at home. Both of these guys own Jacksonville receivers in there.
No, I didn't.
So I think they're not happy to see this and they don't like it. I think this is actually a decent fit for Jacksonville.
No, when we did his, did we do a rookie profile on him?
Yes.
Okay. Or I don't know if we even got to it, but I definitely did the notes on it. I
Yes. I
didn't
remember.
like DJ Chark because he had in his entire college career, the last 2 seasons, I want to say off the top of my head, I'm not 100%, but I have it written down somewhere, he had like 46 catches or something. It was something ridiculous. Like he had like 21 catches and like whatever. I'm thinking, why is this guy being talked about so high? Then he runs a huge number at the combine, 4.34 40-yard dash, and then he's right back in the conversation to be an early second-round pick in rookie drafts. I just don't see. I don't see it. Like, what has he done to get solidified where he's being taken? And then now somebody like Jacksonville, who already has this type of receiver, takes him late in the second round. Why is he going so high? Because he's fast?
No, I think it's more than it's just because he's fast.
What? Okay. Well, he doesn't have the pedigree of like the stats or like the.
Okay.
Like he has a couple of highlights because he's very fast. So he has long touchdowns. That's it.
I don't think that's it.
What else is it? What else then? He had a good Senior Bowl.
I think if you look at receiver stats coming out into the league, you're not going to find a ton of guys that come out with 80 catches, 90 catches.
And not 80 or 90. We're talking 20. Look at 26 and 35. Like.
And 3 touchdowns both seasons.
Right,
So
he,
it wasn't
like, he
was a
didn't
big
do much.
touchdown guy.
And like, okay, so these yardage, like one of the, he has 466 yards in 2016, 466. One of them was an 80-yard touchdown. So
he's a deep threat guy. He had 35 catches, like
Right.
800 yards.
to me, he's like a Ted Ginn or like a that type of guy that's like a specialty player. And to take a draft pick this early in the second round, I mean this early in the draft and it's in the second round on a specialty player is just not.
Wasn't Ted Ginn a first round pick?
How'd that work out?
Taken was a first round pick.
How'd that work out?
Didn't he have double digit touchdowns?
Maybe as a punt returner.
But you're not feeling comfortable playing
oh,
him.
yeah, the 1 year we had 10 touchdowns. Yeah, but
I'm
he's
just saying.
You're not playing guys like this in your fantasy league week to week, most likely. Guys that are long,
Look.
Deshaun Jackson types, you're not playing every week, Travis.
Yes, you can, and yes, you might not.
You
be,
can, go ahead. Take that chance every week that he's going to catch a 90-yard touchdown. And then when he doesn't, and he has 2 catches for 12 yards, you're going to be like, cool.
When everybody got hurt last year, how did Keelan Cole do? What type of player is Keelan Cole?
I think he's more than just a deep threat guy. I really do. I think him and D.D. Westbrook are both, and Marquise Lee are all 3 better than DJ Chark. Like Chark to me, he doesn't fit in here.
I disagree.
Well,
I
he
think-
might because they took him so damn high. They might try to shove him in there, but
I think when you look at Keelan Cole, he's a fast guy. It's the same type of thing. They want speed. They're getting speed.
okay.
Like
I agree.
Keelan
I just think they
Cole's
could have
the
waited.
same kind of.
They
player.
could have taken him in the 4th round, I think.
And I think this. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, but Chark is probably bigger than Keelan Cole. So now you got a big, fast guy.
Yeah, I agree that he might be productive in the NFL. I'm a little perplexed with why he went so early. That's all. Like, I think they could have got him way later. Not way later by 50 picks later, but definitely should have went like late 3rd, 4th roundish. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
mean, if you like a guy, I guess you got to take him. I mean, there's a couple guys we saw go, and we were a little surprised they went so high. But I mean, I'm not super in love with the pick, but the landing spot, I kind of like the landing spot.
Keelan Cole's senior year, his last year before he came out to Jacksonville, he had 57 catches for 1,401 yards.
How many
and
touchdowns?
15 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Where did he play?
Kentucky Wesleyan.
Oh, what kind of competition did they play? Because the other dude's playing at LSU, where he's playing SEC teams. So, I mean, I
20
get
catches.
it. We can't just bury
So-
our head in.
So
stat
take
box.
30 catches and 12 touchdowns away.
I know, it's like, I mean, come on. You see 57 for 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns. I mean, I just want to know my guy can catch the ball, and getting 50 catches total in your college career doesn't do it for me.
I don't know. To me, it just looks
Good
like
luck.
it's a log jam is all. I think if they use him on special teams, that's where he's best suited,
Mhm.
which
He's
is fine.
fast. He's fast, guys.
It's fine. But I just think that when you bring a receiver of that high pedigree and they're just log jam,
He's
it's
a-
like, hey, you joined 7 other
They
receivers.
should have drafted Usain Bolt and just threw him out there.
Wasn't that the knock on Juju coming out last year? He's buried. He's not going to get there. He's not going to have time to whatever. Come on,
Buried
guys.
behind who? He wasn't buried behind anybody.
Nobody wanted Juju last year because he got.
Because he went to
Antonio
USC.
Brown.
Because he went to USC. That's why no one
that
wanted
was
him.
just you.
That's
That was
you.
just
Yeah, I don't know. That was you.
That was you. USC hater.
He's like, I'm speaking for everyone. That was everyone.
USC receiver hater.
All right, so look, so we did the first 2 rounds. We're gonna wrap this up. I think maybe next Tuesday, if we do have time, maybe we break down 3 through 7 because there's still a lot of guys we haven't talked about left. So we'll get back to 3 through 7 and maybe speed up a little bit because those guys that were taken late still have fantasy value and could potentially
Make
still
the
be
53-man
drafted
roster.
and for sure gonna make the roster. Especially the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, there was a lot of talent that was taken. There was a lot of talent that wasn't taken at all that now are signed because they were undrafted. So we definitely want to get to all those as well. So I think that maybe next Tuesday we record and we will have that out next week of the later rounds. What do you guys think?
I don't know. Don't pigeonhole us into doing something.
I'm-
If we just do it
I'm
later
doing it.
today and get it out.
That's possible too.
Right.
Boom.
I'll give you the date.
Boom.
You ready to crack one?
Boom. Explosion. Yeah, let's crack it.
Let's
It's a little
crack it.
early, but
Crack
let's
it.
crack it.